The two-month-long strike at Clover is likely to escalate as it gains more support. Earlier this week, workers from Clover marched through Johannesburg's inner city, calling on the public to boycott the dairy giant's products. Member of the Food and Allied Workers Union, as well as the General Industrial Workers Union of South Africa, GIWUSA, also marched from the offices of the CCMA in Marshaltown to the city centre. Now, Clover has approached the Labour Court in an attempt to stop the strike, but the demonstrations will continue this morning. Now, joining us now to give us an update is Mametlwe Sebei, who is the president of the General Industrial Workers Union of South Africa. A very good morning to you. Thank you so much for your time. Let's quickly just talk about today's proceedings. What is the plan there?
We are going to have a rally at Naga Street in Johannesburg, where we'll be bringing together all, Clover workers that are on strike in both City Deep at Clayville, but also supporting organizations from communities, from other trade unions, and I think across the political spectrum of the workers and left movement in this country.
I mean, the strike is really gaining momentum. Plenty of jobs at stake here. 9 weeks in already. How is it looking at the moment? Are we any closer to seeing a settlement reached than we were at the start of it?
We are. Winning. Beside the issue of bonuses, we've also have, court not granting the order that was sought by Clover to interdict the strike. In fact, they could not make a case as to why is it that the strike has to be interdicted, why is it that pickets have to be interdicted. So they lost that. They are going to be amending their papers. Of course, the matter is going back on Tuesday, but they are abandoning any of that claim. And of course, what remains is that they want to have conversation about what they consider to be violent actions, which we've emphasized are not really part of our strategy. Now, the strike is gaining momentum. We've had a number of unions. Our sister union, Cassavo in Cape Town, their dairy workers have refused to handle Clover products. They are effectively in protest as we are talking in Western Cape. There are a number of unions, comrades from Thorn, comrades from other affiliates of SAFTU, but also today we are meeting with Sakau to discuss how best they can support us in our ongoing protest. But it's not not only in this country. We are also escalating internationally. We are planning, a global day of action on the 27th, but also it's going to be a national day of action as well. There are protests that are confirmed in Los Angeles, in San Francisco, and New York at the U.S. consulate. But also we've got a number of comrades of ours, including an Irish, parliamentarian who has pledged a support, including donating part of his parliamentary wage to Clover workers. So there are plans that are gaining momentum internationally. And Clover itself has recognized that workers are not backing down, and it's high time that we talk. As I'm talking to you now, for the first time in 2 months, Clover management has approached us, and they have said, let's sit down. And as we proposed, there is going to be all-around table negotiations involving ourselves, involving government, involving Clover management. The minister has already appointed a special envoy to mediate in those discussions, but we have already communicated our bottom lines, which we are going to discuss at the meeting today. What are our bottom lines? No factory closure, no job losses, no austerity method, and above all, Milko, which is guilty of operating in illegal Jewish settlement on Palestinian land, must leave Clover and must hopefully leave the country in due course. That is our bottom line.
Are you looking to work alongside Clover? Will your tone change today as you mentioned that they are becoming more amiable to working with you, or is it a matter of these are still our demands and you need to see them through?
No, we're going to see them through. The reason that negotiations had collapsed almost effectively about 2 months ago, we have not spoken, is that we refuse to back down. And I can say this much, even for the whole world to hear. We are not going to sign any deal that entails losses of the jobs of our members. They're not going to say that. We are not going to sign any deal that entails 20% wage cuts. We want to see Milko gone. We can't, as the black working class that suffered centuries of colonialism, decades of apartheid, a racist system of repression, we can sit idle when the people of Palestine, their land are being dispossessed, and we are being made complicit by working with a company here that is directly responsible for funding of illegal Jewish settlements, for funding of right-wing parties that are, of course, organizing those illegal settlements. So our bottom line remains. But more than that, we are saying that we want to see these productive facilities where they are. The jobs at Lichtenberg are not just the jobs of our members. It's the jobs of the children and the children of our members. We want to see Lichtenberg viable. We want to see Hebron. We want to see Frankfurt. We want to see our members being able to adhere at CDD because most of them are staying in Soweto. But we want to have conversation about if they are to be relocated, how is the company coming to the party? But what we're saying is that there are just certain fundamentals in respect of which we're going to move. And that's the reason that over 2 months we said, let's not waste each other's time talking about things that we're not going to be able to resolve. And that's the reason we've been arguing that government must intervene. When the CEO of Clover said he can't afford it, we said, but all that you are saying to us is that capitalism, your private ownership of Clover cannot afford the legitimate demands of workers and communities in this country. And that's the reason that we are saying Clover must then be taken into public ownership on the basis of the democratic control and management of the working class.
And Clover was in public ownership before it was bought by Milko. Is this strike also in solidarity of Palestine? We've seen Palestinian flags pop up here and there as well, understanding that Milko is a consortium that is owned or headed by an Israeli company.
Yes, that's one of the fundamental, if not the most fundamental reason that we opposed Milko taking over Clover in 2019. We have said this, is a company that is guilty of human rights violations in Palestinian territories, because this is a company that is directly linked with far right-wing forces, and there is evidence of that if you're to do a basic research, on Central Bottling Company that owns Milko, and they are linked with far right-wing parties in Palestine. These parties are the ones that are organizing illegal Jewish settlements on the occupied Palestinian territories. These are people that are also supporting IDF, Israeli Defense Force, which, as I've said before, we consider it to be an army of colonial occupation of Palestine that has imposed the most brutal military dictatorship over Palestinian people, the farmers, the workers, and in fact, today's rally is going to be addressed by one of the leaders of the Palestinian farmers who have been displaced in some of these areas. And of course, we've received overwhelming support from the new trade union movement in Palestine. And for us, there can't be, more crushing vindication of the justice of our cause than that.
Mametlwe Sebei, thank you so much for your time this morning. He's the president of the General Industrial Workers Union of South Africa, just giving us an update on that Clover strike. It's been going on for now over 2 months. 9 weeks is where it is at the moment, but it seems like there is some motion gathering in that strike.